Hello, so we are live already. I will introduce you the panelists right after explaining a little bit what we're going to talk about in this session. So welcome to this new panel on importance of data and analytics in usage in TV advertising. We will be talking about a lot of different topics, but basically the idea is to cover the fact that TV industry has been operating on a shift towards the digital environment over the last few years. And we have a growing number of online OTT services, also scaling up connected device market, and many new interactive targeting ad products, which are based on digital capabilities. So those evolutions are enabling the actors of the industry to gather an unprecedented amount of data on viewers, also on the content consumption patterns and content viewability metrics for content providers. So the introduction of big data in the TV landscape is creating new business opportunities, and especially in the advertising segment. So we'll see what are the new challenges brought in the TV landscape through this segment. And we have with us today 4 panelists to discuss this. So I'm very happy to welcome with us Lieting Spalding, the head of audience planning and programmatic at Havas Media Group. Then we have Ksenia Ashkasova, who's the executive director of Mediascope from Russia. We also have Dr. Oliver Friedrich, who's the head of global partnerships for video and advanced TV in the DAR market for Google. And then we also have Catherine Hallam from the UK, who's the head of client data client data strategy and advertising data for commercial broadcaster ITV. So I will start with telling the audience that you can fill up questions in the chat box, so we can also ask the panelists your better insights from what the audience is interested in. And we will be recording the session, so there will be a catch-up available on our website afterwards if you need to review the panel or share it with colleagues. So first question to the panelists today: how do you gather data on viewers and their consumption patterns? And I would start from a content distributor's point of view. So with Catherine, ITV is a broadcaster, also operating their own OTT player. So what kind of data can you gather on your viewers, and how do you do it?
Thanks, Ophélie. Yes, so kicking us off. Well, for those of you that maybe have not come across ITV and how we have our digital delivery of our content, ITV Hub is the largest commercial broadcaster with that digital delivery in the UK. We're up to 33 million registered users, and it's that fact that people are registering that allows us to capture the data that we can then use for various use cases, insights, targeting, measurements. So the fact that users, they want to log in to watch the biggest, the most talked about TV shows on demand, but also live. So the hub allows them to do that. And through that data that we're collecting on their registration, we've got about 250 plus different data points on their registration profile. That allows us to understand who those users in the households are that are viewing. And then down to the detail on what they're viewing, like what devices they're using, what their consumption levels are. We can build up really nice patterns about seasonality of viewing, what kind of genres and programs, obviously, but it also extends out to not just their consumption on Hub, but also other interactions that they have with ITV, things like their apps, show app engagement, shop sites that they might be purchasing from, like the Love Island shop and things like that. So we're getting a really rich, rounded group all tied down to that individual viewer. And that just allows us to have a lot of data and use it in really powerful ways for the advertising context.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Oliver, you're working for Google. You also have your own digital properties. You're also working on advertising segment with third-party services. Can you tell us a bit what kind of data you can gather on your different properties digitally?
Sure, happy to. So basically, the segment I'm working on or with is the publisher segment. So basically, my partners are publishers like broadcasters, OTTs, and also telecommunication platforms who act as publishers and own content or syndicate content on behalf of others. So therefore, I would also give feedback here based on that perspective. So more or less how our publisher-related products are also working in this context. And this is, I think, quite similar to what Catherine was just outlining. So basically, you have different sources, of course, how you can collect users' data or user data sets. So one piece is definitely the user login, which is publisher-related, so publisher data resulting into IDs, which can be fed into the non-programmatic and or maybe even starting from this year also programmatic environment. I think this is the new piece here, and maybe we come back to that also later during the other questions. The more classical way of doing it, especially either on CTVs, so connected TVs, which are app-related platforms having a device identifier. So the most very famous IAB, IFA identifier, which you have available for most of the CTV devices out there. So whether it's an Amazon Fire TV, Google TV, or also the Samsung or LG Smart TV, an example, they all have their specific device identifiers. And of course, as soon as this is not blocked by the user, which is of course given by nature that the user can either block it or reset it, then this identifier again is, I think, the most valuable identifier at the moment in this segment, where we all know what happened today with the release of iOS 14.5, because this is exactly the identifier which is also now a bit under fire. Let's see how long this is still available in the digital or programmatic ecosystem. So these are I think would say the two pillars here, and around all that, especially about the publisher provided data, there are then segments which can be built by the publisher himself and used in the specifically digital ecosystem here to make sure that also the buyer has a certain advantage of that. On the other hand, of course, also buyers can build their audience segments or use audience segments by just using the before mentioned IDs, which we already talked about, and build graphs on their side. So this is, I think, always the two sides of the story, that it's not necessarily the publisher data which is the most relevant nowadays in the digital ecosystem, but also the data, or specifically the data the buy side also owns.
Okay, thank you very much for your insight. Now, Xenia, I would like to ask you, since you're working on audience measurement, from your perspective, how can you expand the understanding that we have on audiences? Because you're working with traditional panels, but what are big data opportunities giving you in terms of granularity that you could not have before?
Yeah, actually, as a representative of research company, I believe that there are two important questions here. And question number one is how to collect the data, and the colleagues, other panel members, they briefly described how it could be done. In our projects, we are using different types of big data. For example, it's not about OTT, but when we aim to measure TV consumption on different screens, we're also using heartbeats, and we combine our panel data with the heartbeat census data. So we know technologies, and we're using it on our daily data production. But we believe that there is another more important question, is how to utilize this big data, because traditional TV channels, they in a way, they are very conservative, and they got used to work with pure panel data, where you could trace everything from the very beginning to the very end. And for example, we recently partnered with the company who collects RPD data. We bought it last year, but we are still not integrating these big data to our panel. And there is only one reason. When we start discussing it with TV channels, they don't seem too happy to have this integration, because we will have to use more algorithm, more math, and it's not all the time very convenient. So to conclude, of course, as a research company, we look forward doing new projects and working with big data and combining different data sets. And this is what we're currently doing. But unfortunately, in some cases, we cannot move forward as fast as we can and we would like, because some of our clients, they are too conservative to do this.
Okay, thank you very much for this insight. Liting, you're working in ad agencies, also with traditional TV broadcasters. How can you monetize this new data sets that we get out of digital environment with traditional TV actors, which might be reluctant to move forward towards digital solution, as Xenia just said?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So from our perspective, I think this the actual advanced data, audience data is available for the targeting is actually very exciting thing to add into this the TV advertising. So I think from the agency Havas perspective, we are looking at this as a great opportunity. Because traditionally, and for the linear TV, and then the proposition is more about it follows the model of one-to-many, that kind of a targeting model. But then when we add into the data sets and then this digital targeting capability, it becomes we need to look at TV to strike the connection of one-to-one connection. So I think this is really a good proposition for the modern days TV. And then because we could look at targeting the households and then not based on their characteristics. And then that is something that the traditional TV cannot offer. And then I think that becomes a lot more exciting is because ultimately we adding this targeting capabilities. And then that it will also give the TV advertising, well, as a TV through connected TV, that the opportunity to drive performance, and then as well. So that is more like from now the proposition becomes full funnel proposition for TV ultimately, and then I think that it's a really good and an exciting advertising opportunities. And then I think with that in mind, and then that's where it becomes a lot more opportunities for the innovations on the creatives as well, and then how creators fit into this new connected TV advertising, and then that's a very big discussion as well.
Thank you very much. So when we talk about advertising on a digitalized environment, we automatically think about programmatic and how we can also facilitate automatization of ad insertion. So more and more actors of the TV industry are looking into programmatic opportunities. I would like to have the input of Catherine on this matter, because ITV launched what you call Planet V, which is an in-house DSP. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and what is your strategy behind that?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, as you said, Planet V was launched in the UK using the ITV media and back end of last year. And it is a programmatic technology, but the real sort of crux of it behind it is it's a self-serve platform. So that offers buyers who would normally do direct buys with ITV and other broadcasters in the UK, it offers them the opportunity to have control of it themselves. So they've got an easy access platform where they can really quickly set up and understand who their audiences are on, currently it's the ITV hub inventory, but that I can talk about how that might expand, I think, a little later. But it also offers them transparency. So total transparency around these sorts of data sets we've been talking about. They have the flexibility to understand the scale of what might be available and how that could best deliver their KPIs. And also transparency of media and cost. I think a point that LinkedIn didn't mention is how important it is for agencies to kind of offer value to their clients and to be able to justify the CPM that is being charged. And so we feel that by having our platform, we can offer that transparency, that CPM. There's no additional middlemen in that are taking cuts for technology fees and all that kind of stuff. It's really important to be able to show the media spend and the value that that's driving. And programmatic allows quick decision, self-serve. It gives a lot more flexibility to advertisers and a lot more choice in the data. But just to build on a few of the points about the one-to-many and the one-to-one that Lita was touching on there, it's really interesting because we still see within people who are buying the ITV Hub media is that they are still wanting to come to some of those broader reach audiences. So it might not be one-to-many as you described like the linear is, we are still targeting them addressably, but they're still looking to understand how they can use Hub to extend their linear buy, how they can align to program content for best need states based on when their consumers are engaging with certain types of content. So yes, that is still a big angle of the TV buy on Hub, but there's more sort of traditionally digital approach to targeting is that refining audience approach. So it's all about making your media spend work harder through overlaying more refined audiences, and actually also be able to expand it to different KPIs. So, having a platform where you've got all those options available to you in one place and you can set up your campaign lines accordingly, I think that's a real value, and that's what the agencies who we've trained on Planet V already seem to be really positive about. And hopefully it will just improve the media buy for advertisers.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Liting, you're also working on programmatic because you're basically connecting publishers and on programmatic DSPs. What can you tell us about the market? Like, how are actors reacting to those new opportunities?
I think that it's great to hear that from Catherine just now as well, and because it's such a big topic, and then among all of our clients, and then regarding because this is new digital, modern days of a new format of a connected TV and compared with the linear TV. And then where is a big question mark for different clients, and then around what kind of roles they will play on their media plan, for example. And then I think they have their publishers that has been traditionally worked for a long time. And then the fact that the technology on the publisher side, like ITV, and then that has evolved so much, and then that is going to help us, and then also the advertisers, and then to transition into the connected TV space. I think what I was referring to as the one-to-one sort of connection, which and we just recognize that as a capability, is because the digital side of the data ingesting into the linear TV reach and frequency targeting, but it doesn't mean that that's the only that we should because the capability is there. That doesn't mean that we should only use it. So because there is a transition phase as we are now, is we still need to bridge the linear TV position and then into the connected TV world. So I think then it's important for advertisers, which agency creates a very key role in this mix, is that, and then what is the connected TV mean for each advertiser, because there's no blanket approach. And then just because the targeting is there, it doesn't mean that we should be as targeted as possible, because that may not be the right role for the connected TV.
Yeah, it's definitely a matter of scale still. Oliver, I wanted your opinion also on programmatic, and what are the big challenges when it comes to deploying programmatic solutions and, on the TV sets, because there are still a lot of obstacles to a seamless programmatic experience on the TV screen, let's say.
Yeah, thank you. So I think there are several buckets again, which hinder a large scale deployment. Also, just in parallel, yeah, I got in touch with one of those cases, because a lot of them are GDPR or consent framework related, where maybe one element in the path from the publisher up to the DSP is maybe not having consent for something. And it could be something small like an ad choices banner. So this is just the case I was looking at here in parallel. So the ad choices provider, only that one, is not taking part in the IAB's global vendor list. So what happens? The whole campaign is not delivered. So this is just a very specific example, I think, which we have on the table here, one after another at the moment. And as you can imagine, on CTV, it's even worse because there is usually no usage of TCF. So most of the publishers, most of the buyers are used now to make use of the TCF framework in Europe. But connected TV devices are something, yeah, like a special domain, because they still tick like the old world ticks. There's an either or something. The publisher is just sending a 1 or a 0, so a black and white signal. And some of the components in the ecosystem then just await TCF consent, and this does not happen. So this is one example. There are multiple others, which are also data related when it comes, an example, to creative workflows, where you would not think of data maybe at the first stage, but again, each creative or each campaign, each ad should just appear once in front of a user. We heard this also in the session before from the colleagues from one of the panelists there. And this is a big challenge because you need IDs for the creatives, and this is not fully implemented again inside the CTV ecosystem, where you have not just one ad, you have ad pods, especially in advanced TV, so linear scenarios. And if those IDs are not, or if those campaigns are not identifiable, then it might happen that you have a very nice frequency capping working, because this is basic. This is not really the hardest part here. The hardest part is then to identify maybe the same campaign, even if it's coming from another source. So therefore, we need a regime here in place for ad IDs, which is luckily part of the VAST4, the IAB standards here in this context, but it's not, again, implemented from A to Z. And there are numerous other examples, which would bring me back to the device identifiers again. Which technically is not the biggest challenge. This could work, but again, we have a multitude of devices which all tick a bit differently, and maybe not transmit those IDs in the right format. And on top of that, of course, there are all softer factors which make programmatic, especially on big screen, and when you go into open auction based scenarios, which already happen, so we see a massive rise of open auction also on connected TV. So of course also a big topic for fraud. So if those IDs are there, then everything is fine, but without not. And on the other hand, there are factors behind which we, in example, bring, and is, I think, forgotten most of the time. So which is also brand safety signals. So not just an identifier of a user, not a screen which is maybe in front of or coming from a publisher's or broadcaster's app, but holistic information which categorizes requests, users, devices, IDs, and just gives, like, of course, an AI-generated big picture whether this specific request is safe, either whether it's fraud, or on the other hand, whether it's safe for the advertiser, serving into a safe environment. And this is not part of this ID ecosystem. This is what, an example, Google brings as an addition for an advertiser, this safety piece, that they can also select inventory which is not mature content. And again, this is highly dependent on not just on a single request. This is built up with machine learning and making sure that then also open auction is something advertisers will develop trust in during this year.
Yeah, indeed. That's, well, actually a lot of challenges covered. You mentioned the fact that smart TVs, connected TVs are a crossover between the old world of TV and digital devices. I would like to know what Xenia thinks about how we can understand this new hybrid environment of connected TV sets, and how can we understand the audiences on those devices?
From a technical perspective, in my understanding, it's not that complicated, because it's still TV set, which could be measured with both with standard solutions such as panels with different technologies, and we also could here utilize big data, partners data, and things like this. What is more complicated is in my understanding, and this is challenging not only for a research company but for the whole industry, is what we're going to do with this. Which metrics should be used? Are traditional GRPs enough or not? Probably not, because if we are going to use traditional GRPs, why to work with CTVs? Should we use CTR or other digital metrics, or should we develop something totally new because it's in between of the two worlds? Unfortunately, there is no direct answer for this. I know that many companies, they're investigating different approaches of how to utilize this best of both worlds, but there is no one definite answer. What should we do? Should we use TV sets characteristic, or should we using different algorithms, AI or whatever, try to understand who is particularly watching, which kind of demographic is watching, who is this individual who is watching? Is this important or is this not important? Should we somehow verify the data, or could we use just the data from use some kind of partner logs? Do the market need any type of verification? How complicated it should be? Because in some cases, the cost of verification could be even higher than the potential profit. So there is so many questions about it. In our country, we keep discussing it with the market, but this is totally, well, not totally new, but this is a new thing to the market, and there is no one common solution. And this is really exciting to work for these type of projects, because there is so many ways of how to do this, and it's really fascinating. But again, unfortunately, there is no common understanding of what and how should be measured and reported, which metrics are essential, what should be done, or what could be ignored. So this is really a very good question of what we as an industry should do with this totally new thing, which combines the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's a lot of open questions remaining. Liting, for Heves, you're already working on smart TV segments, and how can you sell an ad proposition on smart TVs, knowing that all those questionings are still happening, that we don't really know where to position the smart TV in between traditional TV sets and digital advertising?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there's no blanket approach. It depends on what's the focus of the different brands, and then in the context and the audience changing, behavior changing so rapidly at the moment. So I think, you know, there are a couple of things that we do know as an advantage, and then hence the opportunities. And then obviously the first one would be, we know that, you know, connected TV will provide opportunities for advertisers to reach more of a younger audience, and then with a bit more of personalized and app messaging. And then I think that is something that could be a real opportunity as a part of the connected TV proposition. And then the second one would be maybe expanding the role of TV in the context of the connected TV. Because obviously linear TV traditionally is around like upper funnel reach and frequency and demographic targeting, and then the connected TV, because the digital targeting capability is it has expanded that the approach from upper funnel to potentially full funnel approach. But then again, it doesn't mean that I still personally wouldn't recommend an advertiser to get down into the rabbit hole of going too targeted just because the scale may not allow. But then I think we should keep that in mind when that the capability is there. And then the third one is probably what allows, because the expand of the capability, and then it also allows the advertisers to have more opportunities to test and learn in different potential addressable audiences. And then I think that could be a interesting point, particularly now, is that because currently your the audience behavior is changing so quickly, and then how would advertisers keep up with this, the audience behavior change, and then looking for more insight, deeper insights from your media activation as well. So I think that could be something, an opportunity there. And then I think that the last point is obviously, I think it's an opportunity, but it's nothing new for connected TV, which is continues offering the brand safe environment. And then I think that's something that's also becoming a lot more important, and then in the wider digital world.
Thank you very much. So popping on what you just said about brand safety environment, we see already that on smart TVs we have many different services cohabitating, and notably we have traditional broadcast linear TV channels also cohabitating with digital pure players like YouTube, for example. So I would like to ask Oliver, how can we build up a strong brand safety image for those digital pure players which are now available on big TV, on the big screen?
Yeah, so of course the question now with brand safety makes it a bit more complicated on the one hand, because the question is where do those premium publishers not have brand safe inventory? And this is not necessarily on inside their own apps on the big screen. This happens more when big publishers syndicate their content, which happens a lot now in the web. So like soccer content suddenly popping up on the third-party side in a small video player. And this is what I think is very often forgotten by the premium publishers, that going to that direction, they are losing control over the brand safety piece, which they are selling outside as being, or at least they tell their advertisers that they are 100% brand safe, which is not the case anymore when you syndicate content. So this is again where we can of course help to make sure that those brand safety signals, which are not based on a single ad request but on a holistic view on the whole system, become available for the spender, so for the advertiser. So therefore, again, this is what we deliver as part of our buy side ecosystem, not my side, but of course this is how it's collected. So either by delivering URLs, this is the simplest way of the site where it's being played out. So this is, I think, how the brand safety piece can be assured. The whole sales approach is, of course, also difficult, or you named it, this bridging between either O&O properties, like, again, publishers' apps or websites, and YouTube, where, of course, we are in a certain advantage, also on the Google Ad Manager side, where I work, that we offer publishers to have monetization rights on both ends. So monetize O&O properties, but also have monetization rights on YouTube. So this makes it very hard for some not signing a deal with me, an example. But yeah, so this is, I think, how it can work to bridge in between both worlds. But there are also other challenges, even in the O&O sphere, where we also have different environments, like connected TV and addressable TV, with either an ID-based ecosystem like in mobile apps, or on the other hand, like in HbbTV, where we have a cookie-based environment, and which makes bridging almost impossible. So to bridge those two ID worlds, this is I think one one of the big challenges here, where of course the last one, the cookie-based HBTV environment, is also suffering from this limitation, as there is only a cookie, and we all know where this cookie discussion is yielding to at the moment.
Thank you very much. I have a question now regarding how can we improve granularity of your solutions. Mediascope, for example, you mentioned that you are working on big data project. What's going on in terms of third-party data aggregation? How can you have an overview of the viewers' behavior across different types of services when it comes to traditional TV or usage of videos on smartphones, or usage of streaming services, which are a very big thing in Russia? Do you have big projects in terms of aggregation going on?
Well, we have several projects which already work. And just to give you one of the examples, there is one big digital player in Russia, which is called Yandex. They are comparable with Google by the size. And in our digital measurement, not TV measurement, we recently applied integrating over Yandex logs into our system. So our digital project now combines our panel data collaborated by Yandex logs. So this approach works, our clients are happy, and the data became more granular, better quality, and all these things. But this is about digital. In the meantime, we're absolutely open to the discussions with other partners, and we currently have a lot of discussions with OTT providers and with the telecoms, and the good thing is that we know how we can integrate partner data or other type of big data into our panel. And the more complicated thing is, I started from this, that we need to understand which particular project we are going to develop, because when we are combining different data sets, the granularity of course increases. But some very special advantages of panel data, they simply disappear. But anyway, we believe that our future approach as an approach of research company definitely lies in combining of panels and big data. And as I said, we have this experience and it works. And we are under discussions with other partners about continuing this experience.
Thank you very much, Ksenia. Catherine, you mentioned also that Planet V is trying to scale up, so maybe integrating other content providers. Can you talk a little bit about this, and what will be the strategic aim of such a move for you?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I think as addressable becomes more involved in TV, I think it's definitely going to grow. You know, there's a couple of different angles. The first one is the inventory side that you just touched on there, Ophélie. So, you know, Planet V is looking to become the place that buyers can come for all their broadcast, their premium, you know, TV in the UK initially. So looking at, you know, Hub, obviously we've got already live, but, you know, we want to bring in other OTT, other premium content. So there was a press release about Samsung ads being the next part that will be coming in, and inventory that will be available. You know, initially it's going to be separated buys, but, you know, the longer term ambition is that it becomes not only multiple inventory sources, but you get that holistic reach and frequency and of users, and combining users across the different ecosystems, different user bases. And so, you know, our partnership with InfoSum to allow us to link our registered users, firstly to advertise the data, which is what we're doing at the moment, but that will also expand us into other linking to other partnerships with third parties. So like as other inventory sources bring in their media, you know, being able to link the users in a highly decentralized, privacy compliant approach is really important. So strategically there's an evolution there. And, you know, we've been touching on linear and where that goes, how that becomes addressable. That is also, you know, it's being tested on certain inventory sources as well. So there is another evolution there. And just a little tiny bit of a curveball away from some of the technical points we've been discussing. You know, viewers also are evolving, and that's going to scale. You know, the TV engagement is always still there, you know, when you've got the best shows. But for us, we're wanting to try and focus on how we can develop the hub interface to maximize that engagement, how we can get them viewers more engrossed in this kind of content. So it might be like box set tactics, or there's numerous other ways, but it's all about bringing scale for what is a very premium big screen environment that delivers brand safety, delivers full screening, etc. So there's lots of benefits and loads of opportunities, and just watch this space.
Thank you very much. Li-Ting, I would ask you maybe in just a few minutes, because we don't have much time. Since you're working with many different publishers as an agency, and you have to collaborate with many different actors, what are the challenges that you see in scaling up those solutions? Like, how can we uniformize data sets, for example, among players, which is an obstacle to unified standards on the industry so far?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's I wouldn't say the targeting for addressable TV is as sophisticated just yet. I think there's opportunities to continue evolving, and then also reposition the roles of the connected TV. I think the good thing is that we as agencies, we always encourage the publishers and the advertisers, and then to have regular conversations, and then so our clients will always have the first taking the most advantage of the latest technology. And then equally, there is the role as the agency where we facilitate is that to looking at how we can work through the digital ecosystem, and then taking advantage of a publisher portfolio for our clients, and then I think there's a lot more opportunities there as well. So I think there are a lot of open questions around what will be the roles for connected TV, and then what other measurements like capability, and also what will be the best practice, and then for measurements and multiple KPIs and all this is as well. That's a lot of questions need to be answered. And then I think we are having a good start in terms of how we can leverage the digital capabilities, and then to look into performance measurements, and then sometimes we can looking at for example like footfall measurements in the connected TV space as well. So I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities that we can work through it moving forward. And then I think the publishers and advertisers, they both have a very important role to push the technology to evolve over the time, and then making sure that we can take the most advantage of it.
Thank you very much. We're almost at the end of the session. I would ask maybe each of you to give me a final word on your thoughts about this panel or the future of the industry. Oliver, if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah, I think 2021 is really will get and become the breakthrough for any kind of CTV, advanced TV markets, especially in Europe. I think we see massive growth now. Question is just how to bring this onto the road. But the device penetrations out there, smart TVs, CTV devices, I think they're growing massively and just helping on creating a certain simplicity for the whole digital ecosystem to do the same as we have seen in the mobile world.
Thank you very much. Xenia, do you have a few words?
Yeah, I believe that now this topic becomes more and more important, especially taking into account the huge OTT development, at least in our case, during pandemic period. The OTT services, they rose significantly, and this becomes more important part in advertising market. That's why it's a good time to start more discussions about it, and to try to move forward in a quicker way. Okay.
Sorry, thank you. Catherine, as an OTT player, maybe if you can react to that.
I would just say, yes, there is a lot of complexity behind the scenes in, the devices and the delivery and the ecosystem, but to consumers, it's just all about TV. It's what, particularly our kind of media, it's about engagement. It's about, that full screen cinematic experience. Let's not forget that.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I only have a few seconds left, so Ting, maybe if you just want to pop in a few words.
No, I'm just, thank you for, having me here. And then it's great to talk to, everyone, ITV and Mediascope and Google about this. And then I think this is, we're coming to a very exciting period of advertising. And then, also audience behaviors are changing and then creating so many opportunities. And then I think let's continue working together and then to make sure that we are ultimately and then creating that that engagement with the audiences and then creating the meaningful experience for our audiences.
Thank you very much, all of you, for this panel, and I will see you in a few minutes with Dataxis for a sponsor session. Thank you very much.